So this is most likely going to be a rant.
Ruffy's Rants.
Hola, you amazing artists, and welcome to the studio. I wanted to record something really quick today. We are quite busy, but I wanted to get this out before I just didn't think about it or got over it. But I read something on a thread where there was a conversation that was going on that happens quite often in the art world between artists. And it's the definition of like, where does art come from? What is real art? What is considered real art? And in this thread, there was the conversation of a very, very popular belief, which is it is curators and art collectors and whatnots, basically the establishment that is out there that is the one that determines what is real art and what isn't real art. And I've heard this conversation time and time again, and there's something about this that really causes my blood to boil. Perception that is out there that artists don't matter in the equation, right? Because it's all up to everyone else to determine whether or not something is a real piece of art or a real piece of I think because of the perspective that I have when it comes to the big art market and some of the tactics and things that are used there, I have a completely different perspective on this. I don't believe that they make or break an artist's career. I think the artist themselves is the one that gets to determine whether or not they're going to be successful or not. Now, if you want to get into this establishment, then obviously you're going to have to jump through hoops. You're going to have to do whatever it is that they want you to do in order to be able to make it through there. I know I've had artists approach me and tell me that they want to go to Art Basel and get in with the in crowd and basically get into VIP sections and introduce themselves and show their art. And by all means, if you want to go that route, then go that route. I've always been one that it is all about feeling empowered in your own career and taking the reins of your own life and your own art career. And a lot of people disagree with me because they really do follow the idea that the art market is determined by these key players in the art world. And there is some truth to that. But the thing is that art market, it's not really an art market. So let me explain what I mean. Whenever you're looking at any of these auctions or anything that you've got headlines with the art market and stuff like that, and even some museums and things like that, right? Basically what you're looking at is the antiquities market. You're looking at pieces that are considered antiques. So their value comes from that. In fact, the antiquities market and the art market usually work together. You'll see things being auctioned off at Christie's that are basically antiques. And so the same system is used for the artwork that you see out there, but they call it the art market. So provenance is something that, let's say you have an old car. It is in good condition. So like it has a markup value because it is an antique. Now let's say that car belonged to James Dean. Now the value skyrockets, right? And basically what you have with a lot of these old antique paintings is that eventually these paintings made it into the collection of someone. And then what you get with provenance is people are able to trace back the piece through history and see who were the different people that owned it, what position they held. And obviously the more celebrity status that they have, the higher the price of the piece goes. And that's kind of how antiques work. You know, like where did this antique statue come from? Did it come from the lost tribe of whatever? Or did it come from Joe Blow down the street that's been in business for 100 years? You know, the value of stuff has a lot to do with who owned the piece and where the piece came from. Mix in that entire culture with the investment market. There are some investment firms out there that will allow you to own a percentage of a Van Gogh or a Picasso, right? So basically at that point, you're not even owning the art. You are owning a small piece of the art so that the next time that art goes to auction and sells for a big amount of money, that you're going to get a return on your investment. Now, when you're looking at all of this, the one thing that is not determined is what is the real art. Person that is investing in some art and they don't even get to experience the art on their wall. Basically, they're just looking at it as a way to be able to profit? Is it the antiquities market where you are purchasing a piece not because of the piece in of itself? And for some reason, some artists are getting out there and getting on their feet and doing their own thing. They're looking at this market and they're looking at the way that even museums that are purchasing new art or even old art, what they're looking for is the long-term investment. A lot of these old artists that their works are going for all of this money or whatever, got started, they had nothing. They got started from nothing. And it was them putting themselves out there into different markets, selling work to people that they didn't even know whether or not there was going to be a return on their investment. They went out there, made a name for themselves, and eventually the more that you make a name for yourself, the more that your audience starts to vary. And the more collectors you get coming out of the woodwork, that some of them are wealthy collectors, some of them are well connected, some of them maybe not. I have collectors that vary across the board. I have some extremely wealthy collectors. I have some not so wealthy collectors because it doesn't matter to me. This person was saying that in order for your art to survive, it needs to get into the collection of a wealthy collector. Okay? Here's the interesting thing about that. A lot of the artwork that goes to auction is usually from private collections, right? And I say private collections, which what I mean is more along the lines of this painting has been hanging in my house as long as I can remember. All I know is that my mom loved it. My grandfather bought it back in 1920 something. And this painting has been here. And lo and behold, it is an original work from one of these old masters. And then that goes to auction because that is one of the lost works or whatever it is. And that piece, although maybe it didn't get into the hands of a curator or a museum or a wealthy collector, still survived through time. Now, if you want notoriety, if you want fame, if you want fame after you die, if you want fame while you're alive, then is it about the art or is it about institutions and curators and stuff like that using your name and saying that you're innovative and you're this and allowing them to label you as important versus you just going out there and doing your thing? And I think that that's what it comes down to. If you have a perspective that you need someone else to tell you that your work is important, that your work is real art, or that your work is whatever it is that you hope to achieve in your life, all the power is going to lie in their hands. You're going to wait for curators. You're going to wait for a museum. You're going to wait for them to say that you are this thing in order to be able to claim yourself as this thing. My thing is go out there and live it and show your stuff, get in front of people, put your stuff out in the world, and stop waiting around for a museum or a curator or whoever to be the one to tell you that thing. Because in all honesty, it is all the individuals out there that eventually the news gets to these people, and all they're thinking is, if everyone else is saying it, then they must be this thing. Really, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is that there are a whole bunch of different markets that just kind of intertwine and have the label of art market. And I know that that makes things confusing. What is most important is what is your perspective? Because if you're thinking to yourself that you need someone else in order to make or break you, that is an extremely, extremely disempowering thought. I could give a rip if there's a museum or a curator or a specific wealthy collector, or that my name is out there, or that anybody is thinking that I am an important artist or anything like that, because really for me, it's all about just creating the art. Putting it out there, creating the art, putting it out there and finding my people. And if my people are not specific museums, curators, or auctioneers, or whatever it is, I'm fine with that because I'm going to connect with people one-on-one. Will my art survive? I don't know. You might find my art at a secondhand store. But then again, they found Matisse's and other countless collections in secondhand stores. So am I in poor company there? No. Not at all. You might find my art in somebody's attic. You might find my art in the dumpster. It doesn't matter to me. Because what matters to me is that the art connects with whoever it connects. I don't need people to look at me down through history and say that I was important. Because I've got plenty of people out there that my art is important to them. And that's ultimately what matters to me. That's it for that. I just wanted to get that out because it's something that I see constantly. And I know that there are people that are going to watch this and they're going to be like, you are so dumb, or whatever it is that they're going to say about me. I'm fine with that. Listen, I am happy doing what I do for a living because I am not trying to impress anyone else. I just create my stuff and I put it out there and my people find me. And that's ultimately what matters. I don't need to be famous. I don't need anybody to tell me that my work is important or that I am important. I just do this because this is what I love. And I feel fortunate to be able to do this. I love that I'm able to do this. And so I bring that love into everything that I create and anything that I put out into the world. And ultimately, that's what matters to me. I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. I did not cover everything that goes on in my brain or the reasoning why when I look at different perceptions out there about what the art market is, that it's ridiculous. In writing this marketing book, I've really been researching a lot of things and just noticing like, man, a lot of our perception when it comes to this is just complete and utter bullshit and disempowering, which is great because that's what the system wants you to believe. They want you to believe that you need them in order to succeed, that you need them in order to go down in history. And a lot of us just buy it hook, line, and sinker. And we just, because that's the belief that was before, then we believe that now. Well, that must be the truth. And like, just question all those damn things. I think I just went off on a mini rant again. Let me end this video. I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. Just go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, me just ranting in the studio off topic, just click right here. And thank you. Adios.